Thank you, everyone that is joining. You are in the Boomerang After the Great Resignation event. So today we're going to talk about whether or not we see that happening in the talent force. So people are leaving their jobs in droves, but are they actually leaving the workforce entirely, or is this more of the great reshuffle, especially in tech? As several major events changed our world in the last 2 years, people are thinking about work differently and making choices. Our panelists will share their insights into what they see happening in the talent market and what we might expect in the future. Ideally answering the question, will there be a boomerang of talent coming back to the workforce? I'm Hillary Spreizer. I'm a member of the TechTalent Steering Committee and president of the Latitude Group. I'm very excited to introduce our panelists. We have Heather Polivka. She's the CEO and advisor of Awesome People Leaders. Heather is a trusted business advisor, accelerating the growth and success of progressive small and mid-sized businesses and their leaders through practical leadership, employee performance, and thriving workplace cultures. Heather's methodology has been masterfully crafted with over a decade's worth of experience transforming people, processes, and profits of Fortune 10 organizations and businesses of all sizes. She unites marketing and HR expertise to address workforce culture, improve employee engagement, and develop strong people leadership. Heather recently launched a new online manager training program, Awesome People Leaders, to address the prevalent gap in employee retention and engagement at companies of all sizes. We also have Paul DeBettignies. Paul is better known online as the Minnesota Headhunter. He has various titles, including senior tech recruiter, senior people operations and advisor, building teams with startups and tech companies, creating recruiting strategies for Fortune 500 clients, and is the author of the Minnesota Headhunter, the longest running regional recruiter blog. Paul is a frequent local and national speaker, trainer, and subject matter expert on recruiting, HR, career, networking, and social media topics. He's also involved in the Minneapolis and St. Paul technology, marketing, and social media communities as a supporter of Twin Cities Startup Week, Ministar, Documentary, Make It MSP, and Prime Digital Academy. He's a mentor to recruiters and technologists and the founder of Minnesota Talent Leaders and Midwest Recruiting Bootcamp.
And you have never seen a run-on sentence that long.
There were some breaths in there.
Sorry.
For everyone participating, this is meant to be an interactive conversation. So please drop questions in the chat feature. You can do that to the general session, or you can send those directly to me and we'll get through as many as we can. So with that, I will kick it off with this question. What do you both say when employers say they can't find talent?
Paul, you want to go first?
Because I already want to swear.
Yeah. I was stopping from the eye roll,
Can I really answer, Hillary? Can I be really transparent?
Yes, please do.
I think when employers say they can't find who they're looking for, it's bullshit. I think that when we were speaking, the three of us the other day, it has never been in the history of humanness, has it been easier to find people?
Yeah.
Like how can you not find who you're looking for? The question is are they looking for you? Do you have what they want? Like, we keep thinking as if everyone else is the problem. And I would like to suggest that employers are the problem, right? I promised to do sound bites and mini tirades, but I look at the Great Resignation as people have been voting with their feet. And so earlier in the first main session, right, we were talking about people were moving around and the number of quits per month is an astronomical number, but most of those people are quitting to find a new job. They went somewhere new. They found what they were looking for and left what they voted with their feet. And so when I hear employers say they can't find who they're looking for, I can't contain myself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because also, while the quits are at record levels, hiring is also at record levels. Hiring actually exceeded quits in November and December in the job numbers. And then when you also, to further reiterate this point, you look at 1 in 4 people are quitting within 6 months. That is not a trend that existed before. And that is a classic example of people joining, going, yep, this isn't what you told me it was going to be. I'm out because I can vote with my feet and go someplace else. And I think that there is a lot of work for us to do as employers to really think about. There's a lot of things we got away with before 2019, and toxic leaders, cultures, not tailoring our work experience to try to attract and retain the very talent we say that we want and need. But you know what? We could get away with it. The water level was high enough, it covered our sins in a sense. Now the water level is so low, and recruiters are doing everything they can to try to bring people in. But if they're just going out the door again, because what they find when they join, then it's a never-ending cycle.
So if candidates are moving with their feet, what's different and what's attracting talent now?
Well, I'll say, go ahead. What were you going to say, Paul?
No, go. You got this.
So as I connect with talent and with recruiters and executive search, the first two questions that get asked are generally about, what the work arrangement is. But second is culture. And that's really, really critical. And we've got a lot of organizations and leaders within organizations that are not walking the talk. There's great values posted on the website, but they're not actually the lived reality inside the organization. There's leaders on the front lines who are doing their best, but only 30% of frontline managers get any training in people leadership. And especially in technology, we have prioritized technical skills, understandably, but we've prioritized that over people leadership skills. So you have people leaders who don't know how to grow and develop talent, give them stretch goals, actually show up and say, what are you dealing with? And being in touch with them as a human. And then what we've been dealing with, that humanity is critically needed.
And if we think about, most people are being promoted because they were good at their previous job, not because they're going to be good. They're the best of the group to go into the new as a leader supervisor role. And to Heather's point, and we're not giving them any training. And then we're shocked. Sorry for the sarcasm this morning. Shocked that it's not working out sometimes or much of the time. Like we shouldn't be saying that we do career pathing and we promote from within if we're not then giving these people the tools to actually do their new role. We're setting people up for failure. And so I don't know why our industry keeps doing the same things that weren't working before. COVID happens, the world changes, like it or not, it did. What people want has changed. And then we keep doing what we did pre-COVID, and then we're shocked it's not working for us.
Yeah. And we just came out of a session focused in on how do we create work environments, particularly in tech, for underrepresented populations. And there is this great quote that it's like, if you're comfortable within the culture of your organization, that's a privilege. If you don't feel discomfort, the culture rules were designed for you. So the question to ask ourselves is, who's bearing the weight of discomfort within our tech organizations? And I don't think that's a question that we've authentically, vulnerably engaged in to actually create the kind of work environment that doesn't see the kind of loss of underrepresented talent that, let's face it, was a problem before 2019, much less the loss of that talent since.
This question should, I think, pair well into this. How can Minnesota employers address local outmigration and national competition for talent, as many tech orgs pivot to remote hiring, creating an opportunity for professionals to live anywhere, regardless of where their employer is located?
I've been thinking about this a lot when I go back to the pre-COVID Make It MSP days, when we were trying to figure out how to bring people from the coast to Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I've been a little out of the loop of conversations, but I don't really hear much of this conversation happening now, right? Because now our talent pool is, across time zones. It's not just central time zone. It's not just within 30 miles of downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul. And I actually don't think anymore in the tech world, the tech part that we're talking about today, I don't think at all anymore about bringing people to Minneapolis, St. Paul, because I don't need to. I need to be able to do a better job at marketing our region as an employer hub. I need to talk about our clients as these awesome employers, career opportunities, great culture, we treat you well, our benefits are there to support you. And I'm doing this now, so my current project is with Granicus, the old Gov Delivery in St. Paul, Granicus headquartered in Denver, offices Denver, St. Paul, DC. And so for us, this project has been, how do we amplify this employer brand of ours so that we are also attracting people in Boise and Kansas City and Detroit. I don't really think about, I was all in on how do we get people to Minneapolis, St. Paul pre-COVID. And now it's like, you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Hillary, I want to tie all the points that Paul and I are talking about. Someone may be going, well, I thought we were talking about boomerangs. And this equally applies to boomerangs because it's about hiring talent, retaining talent. But if you've had someone leave and they're going to come back, and Paul, you said this the other day, you said, what's changed? If you're going to invite talent back, what has changed? And I think all the things, and so I want to make sure, Paul, you get credit for that, because I was like, oh, it's so good. And that's where, when we're talking about your culture, is that really defined? I see a lot of posts on LinkedIn going, come work for us, our culture is great. If all you can say about your culture is great, you got to show, not tell. And especially to people who've already walked out the door, you really, really need to show what's changed. Is it that you are now training your leaders? Is it that you've done some authentic, work on your culture and your work environment? Maybe you've designed your work experience so that it better supports the people that you're trying to attract and retain. I mean, I saw the session earlier today, and that childcare expenses are one of those things hindering, engagement in the workforce. So why is that not becoming a standard benefit offering to try to solve for that?
To quickly lead on, if I can for a second, I still try to contact people as I did pre-COVID. I was thinking, how do we get people to come back to the Midwest? And my vision of the Midwest then was here to Detroit, Indianapolis, Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, Denver, Fargo, right? Winter. We understand the concept of winter. And the idea being is that if you could then find those people who went to Silicon Valley or the West Coast or to New York City on the East Coast, who now wanted to get married, have kids, have a yard, have a pool, have a standard of living that they could sustain. Now it's just, I am trying to connect with U of M grads and St. Thomas grads and people who worked at a tech company in Minneapolis years ago who are now working on the West Coast. But now I could say you can work with a Midwest valued company and you can still stay there if you want to. You can come here if you want to. You can go to Austin if you want to. I think when we're thinking about how do we get people either boomerang back to our companies because for whatever reason they left, whether they left on their own accord or we helped them leave, how was that exit? How did we do? Was it we lopped off 20% of our people, had a really crappy Zoom call and peace out? Or did we actually do career services? Did we actually have a conversation where we actually personable? We can't expect people to boomerang back to us if we treat them like crap on the way out the door.
Exactly.
So even for now, when we've got companies who are going to let people go, because there's still going to be layoffs in this economy, really ponder and think about how you're doing exit interviews, packages you're giving to people, just, I don't know, being human.
Yeah.
And maybe you can get those people back.
Yeah, well, because to your point, Paul, it sends a really, really strong message, even when you have to make those tough business decisions. Airbnb, the start of the pandemic, had to lay off 25% of their workforce, but they gave everyone a laptop, they gave them a year of healthcare, they were very transparent about the package, and they repurposed their recruiting team to helping them find another job And they created a website that talent could opt into, and they shared it with their competitors. Said, if you're looking for great talent, start here. And not only did you have people being laid off, posting online about it was the most compassionate layoff they've ever seen, but with the employees who were left behind, they were like, if they'll take care of them like that, I know I'm okay. I know they'll take care of me. And so talk about a killer retention play for the people who are left behind. And that's not normally the case. In a lot of companies, oh, that was Airbnb, Jade. For a lot of companies, the people left behind are the ones who also end up suffering just as much because more workload, less resources, and then morale starts to spiral down. And so then it becomes this perpetuating issue. And to the point you called out earlier, Paul, about why do people leave, we know that 75% of people leave because of their manager.
Yep.
And a big part of that is what you were pointing to earlier, that we promote people because they were the best individual contributor, or they're the one left behind, or they're the one who had the longest tenure, but not because they have people leadership skills. And then we don't give them training. And then we had this craziness of overnight, every team became, remote or hybrid. And so it's not like they had any, training and support in that either. And so we leave managers to be fumbling around trying to do their best through no fault of their own, and people walking out the door. So that's one of the things, if you're asking people to come back, how do they know they're actually going to be supported? Because that relationship with the manager is the top driver of engagement.
We've got an interesting question. What is your take on job descriptions and actionable steps to make them more attractive?
Did you like how both Paul and I started laughing?
Okay, I'm gonna try to be politically correct and filter. I'm gonna filter. Most job descriptions, if we're being fair, suck on a good day. And part of the how I know this is that, and I know Heather does this too. Like if I'm at an event and I ask a room full of recruiter and HR folks, how many of you in this, I asked them two questions. How many people in this room like their job descriptions? It's always less than 10%. And then the other question I ask, a parallel, is how many of you liked your candidate experience? It's usually less than 30%. So why do we keep doing the things that we don't like once we get into the role? Like if we're, I am so squirrely today. If we go back to January 6th, 2020, pre-COVID, right? We were thinking about competitiveness, increasing salaries, that phrase, we can't find who we're looking for. And if we go to January 3rd of this year, 2 years, what changed with our recruiting? And the answer is like nothing for most companies. Career pages look the same. In fact, most career pages still look like it's January 2020. So career pages are the same, job descriptions are the same, recruiting process is the same, candidate experience is the same, and the world changed. And so I think it was Jamie said earlier, I'm losing track of who said what, because again, my brain's all over the place. This needs to be about who we want to attract. This should be about why do you want to come work with us? Here's why you want to spend your time with us. Here's why coming to work with us is cool and fun. It shouldn't be a 17 bullet point of a wish list of a robot we're hoping to find in a human if we're lucky at the salary that we want to pay. So all of the things we're still generally doing are the things that we did before that didn't work. And now again, we keep using this phrase, we're shocked that they're not working. And one quick last thing, and then I'll stop the ramble, is we keep thinking about who are we attracting. And I wrote down a phrase earlier is, are we attractive?
Mm-hmm. Really good. I was listening earlier and lots of great content, love the content. But I was like, you know what's missing in this is what's in it for me from the lens of talent. And that's the same thing that's missing on most career websites, on most job postings. We would never go and pitch a company something and talk all about ourselves. We would never go on a first date, or let's hope not, and talk all about ourselves. And yet, that's what we do when it comes to trying to attract, hire, retain, and boomerang talent.
So why would you want to come work with us? What's in it for you?
Mhm.
Here's what our team is like. Here's what our team is like outside of our day job. Find the people who, a number of years ago, I did a project at Total Expert, and they have a hiring manager, director of senior software engineering. It turned out that I spoke with like 28 of the 31 software engineers QA team, 28 of the 31 were say the reason why they came to or stayed at Total Expert was because of Brenda. Then why doesn't the job description look and sound like Brenda? Brenda's a badass woman who used to drag race cars, who can make an old fashioned like no one else. Like, if that's what, it should sound like Brenda. It shouldn't sound like a fintech startup. And so we did change that. Like, you're right about the dating thing, Heather, because when I was doing this when COVID started, thankfully I'm not doing it now. I'm good, thank you, for a year now. It was this idea of it's a communication thing. And so if you look at your job description and actually honestly say to yourself, would you apply for this role if you were looking? And the answer is probably no. Then change it, play around with it, be more fun, stop being so freaking serious. Like, I get that there are legal things we need to do. I appreciate there are some parameters to this. Like, you can't just go, woo, like I want you to. But again, human, where to go?
Well, and authenticity, because that's the other thing. I mean, it used to be like they talked about how you've got a recruiter's, you've got 3 seconds of a recruiter's time to scan your resume. That used to be a big thing about working on your resume. Well, it's flipped. You now have, if you can get eyeballs even on your description, you've got like a nanosecond, because there's other options out there. And so that's why it's one of those critical communication pieces, and is what you're saying on your website and in your job posting. Is that any match for what is on Glassdoor, Indeed, and on all the online review forums? Because you can't talk about your great culture and then have a lot of posts that say the opposite of that. And we all know we take those with a grain of salt, but candidates do go and look at that. And if I'm a Boomerang, I'm going to go and look at some of the latest posts and say, has anything really changed since the last time I was there?
Assuming you can get your description right and you get somebody in the door, what are examples of some of the benefits that are attracting candidates in this market?
Okay, I'm gonna lead with this one, because I have kind of a Bumble. Bumble is like, because so Hillary, the first thing I'll say is it's not one size fits all. You have to understand who it is you're trying to attract from a human perspective, not like resume. What's important to them? What do they value? And then if you really understand that, you can design a work experience inclusive of benefits that really supports them. And so Bumble, first of all, they know that their clients are predominantly women. And since they're designing an experience for women, they need to attract a lot of women in tech. And so they just literally talked to women, shocking, and said, what would be important to you? What would you value? And they have benefits unlike anything else in terms of maternity leave, 6 months paid, and that's both parents. They have domestic abuse survivor leave. Now, they have a lot of other benefits that are great, but I will tell you, when I saw this one, I was like, I've never seen that before. Yeah. And while I knew that one of the most dangerous times for someone to leave an abusive relationship, it's the most dangerous times when they leave, what I did not know is that they often need to disappear for at least a month. And so Bumble said, well, then let's have 20 days of paid leave for domestic abuse survivors. Now, I've been fortunate. I haven't needed that benefit. I hope I never do need that benefit. But you know what? It spoke to me that they even offer that, because it told me how in tune they are with who their talent audience is. And I mean, and they go way beyond that. They give childcare credits. If you have to travel for Bumble for your work and you're a new mom, they pay the cost of shipping breast milk. I know that made a few people blush on this call, but I'm talking about being that in tune with your talent that you can cater your benefits accordingly.
And not everyone, and these things, like if you're a bootstrap startup and you're on this call, I appreciate you can't do some of this stuff.
Yes.
But just start being human. Like at Granicus right now, it originally was a 3-month, 5-month, now 7-month project. Tori, my girlfriend, and I were originally going to go to Mexico. We scrapped that because of the COVID numbers, so we went to Florida. And I was trying to figure out, I didn't think I'd still be in this project. And so I was like, Bob, our chief product officer, Lolita, our recruiting manager, I said, hey, like I'll do some work while I'm down in Florida. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I'm a consultant and you're kind of paying me. And they're like, well, you're already putting in your time. We know you'll take care of what you need to. But I actually got Slack messages like, get off Slack, or why are you in this call? And so for them, they have flexible time off. Now, they don't call it unlimited PTO because we know all the surveys that say unlimited PTO actually means people actually take less than. So our phrase is flexible time off. So I saw hiring managers between Christmas and New Year's. They took Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off because they already had Friday, Monday off for Christmas, Friday, Monday off for New Year's. So they got 11 or 13 days off, took 3 days off, but they don't keep track anyway. And so I had a hiring manager who I've known for many years, and she's here in town. Tracy's like, I don't want to hear your voice till after the new year. And I'm like, cool. And so I just recruited my tail off and then jacked up her calendar for the first week back full of interviews. Like, this is an example of, because when you see managers and directors and VPs taking time off, it empowers the staff to be like, oh, so I can take time off.
Yeah.
And, or working remote. Like one of our tech managers went to Phoenix and worked there for the week, but was only working like 4 to 6 hours and no one cared. Everyone's like, hey, cool, you worked on your tan, you still got some stuff done, you're coming back, you're excited, you escaped this frigid winter we've had. And then other people were doing it too, and it's just common. And that doesn't really cost money.
Mm-mm.
And so sometimes you can't do all of these things.
Yeah.
But if we could just start treating our people like people versus cogs in a wheel. I said this to us the other day, 3 phrases I can't stand. I'll use a different word, freaking can't stand. Human resources, talent acquisition, and human capital. Because where else can we make it sound like people are a cog in a wheel that can be irreplaced in a moment's notice? Like, stop. And I'll stop.
But I agree with you. Not everyone can do these great things. And I was talking with the CEO of a small manufacturing company, 200 people. And there's not a lot of margins in that, right? And I know maybe we're going, Heather, we're talking about tech, but he literally was like, what is it that gets in the way of our employees? What stresses them? And because a lot of the manufacturing floor employees were living paycheck to paycheck, he's like, wow, okay, so how can we help support this? And he started paying for providing a financial planner to help pay down debt, to help them navigate. Like, that wasn't a huge expense, but it was about understanding what is valued, but also what's getting in the way and what's creating stress for your people, that if you can alleviate that stress over there, that allows them to then show up as a better version of themselves.
My friends at Lenz and Byerly started doing daily pay. You can now sign up to get paid every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't a big cost. There are some technology things to work through, but I don't know, like, I just keep thinking about one of the reasons why I keep extending this project at Granicus for as long as they'll have me is that I love the mission of the company, right? Like, we're trying to make it so government, whether that's county, city, state, federal government, EU, how to make the digital experience for citizens better. And I can get behind that all day. Like, I see the stories on our success page about the things that we've done to help cities move kids out of foster care faster and into homes. Or the Coast Guard uses Granicus to text message citizens during a hurricane in Texas to get them to safety, or where to get or pick up or make donations. And so going back to job descriptions again, like it's one of the things that we did at Granicus was to add that story. Because a Ruby developer is a Ruby developer job description. I'm sorry, but you don't need to have 12 bullet points. You need to have great communication and work on a team and be a lifelong learner, because duh. But what's the thing we're going to do? We've got a Java developer role where the manager is like, blah, 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 blah. And I said, what are they going to do? And they said, well, this software administers $1.5 billion in art grants in Europe. Why is that not our headline? Because that's going to attract a Java developer, not a blog. And it's no knock on Granicus, by the way. And the cool thing about this, they're like, what can we change? How can we do this better? How can we make this more efficient? How can we make this a better experience? So it's a holistic approach. And so Carrie, the Chief Human Resources Officer, she's fantastic. She's like, what can we do? And so to have leaders who want to do this.
Yes.
It can't just be a recruiter trying to change a job description, because good luck. It's got to be everybody going, hey, we need to amp up our game.
Yeah, and I think it ties to something that was said in the session before us, that recruiting is not just a recruiter's job. All the leaders do need to be involved. Every single leader needs to be involved. It's everyone's job, one, to create an environment that talent wants to be in. And that's where we can have lots of great ideas at the strategic level. But by the way, if you're a VP or you're a CTO, your influence only goes 2 levels down into the organization. So if you don't make sure that the people reporting to you really understand how to lead through culture and make decisions and implement them through the lens of your values and walk your talk, then you got a chance of it going another level deeper. And you got to make sure that every single level of your leadership, because of that only two level depth, you got to make sure everyone understands that. And that's why so many things that are really nice ideas and strategic, plans about how we're going to do talent never really comes to fruition, because it never makes it through those 2 levels of leadership, because we don't support people, we don't train them, we don't tell them how. And so nothing really changes. And then your Boomerang can sniff that out more than anyone.
Lunds and Byerly's corporate staff, many of them are in stores on Friday stocking shelves. You want to know what's going on in the store? You want to know what's going on with the roles you're recruiting for? Go stock some shelves with your people, and you'll start seeing what the role is like. What are the barriers? What are the issues? Who are we looking for? You're actually showing your team that you're involved day to day.
Yeah. And if we've got leaders on the call and you're like, okay, well, if maybe I've got some toxic leaders in my organization, maybe I've got some things that need to be addressed and I'm not really aware of it. One, ask, is there a feedback mechanism that exists? And then 2, go stock some shelves and you'll hear from the employees why they don't use them. But third, I'll also say to you, if you go to your recruiters and you are really willing to listen, your recruiters know where the dead bodies are buried in your organization. They know the leaders they have to keep hiring for, because people keep walking out the door. And, the question is, do you really want to know? And are you going to do something about it?
Hillary needs to corral us, I bet.
Yeah.
I think we've got time for one more question.
So we knew this was going to happen.
One of the most difficult barriers for those entering the IT space, whether changing careers or graduating from college, is that most companies pass over people with less than 1 year of experience. They aren't willing to train them in what they need. Could that training be a way to increase employee retention, as they would be grateful to the company and thus stay longer?
So Hillary, we did our thing again.
I'm going to talk super fast. Here's the deal. Our industry says that we need more people to go into tech, but we will not hire them. So you want the holy grail is a 3 to 5 year developer, but we don't hire people in 3 to 5 months. And then again, we're shocked that we don't have who we're looking for. Well, shame on us for not actually delivering. The second part is this. If you have an intern or a junior dev program and you're not able to retain your folks, it's not because of the folks, it's because you didn't deliver. You didn't keep. It's not the junior dev's fault. It's the employer's fault. 8.5 times out of 10, right? We didn't actually live up to what we said.
Yeah, and there's just way too, and especially, you combine that question, Hillary, with the conversation about how do we attract and retain underrepresented talent? Like those two questions go hand in hand. And this idea, it was a point made in the earlier session, we used to design like the job descriptions for how do we keep people out. And now it needs to be designed for how we include. Quite frankly, it should have always been designed that way, of how we include. So that's where I look at that and go, yeah, I think every time a job is posted, about half of the bullet points should immediately be thrown out and the other half should be greatly challenged.
Create personas of the people you're trying to attract instead of a roadmap or recipe of a human you're trying to find.
Yeah.
You may be like this. Your experience might be like this. We're looking for people like this. Think a gray avatar instead of a specific, we're trying to fill Jane Doe's role who left us. What if we could broaden that out a little bit? Because if we're only trying to find Jane Doe's replacement, we're trying to find Jane Doe's replacement at Jane Doe's original salary. And Jane Doe has grown while she was with us, well, we would hope. So now we can't even find who we're looking for. Like, think of it as a persona.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, thank you both very much. I feel like we could talk about this for so long, which is great. Contact information for both panelists is at the top of this chat. I believe in about 15 seconds, there will be a note to go into another breakout session or stay here for the next hire session.
By the way, thank you everybody for being patient with Heather and I, because we knew, Hillary knew we were going to. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.